Hello, I'm Randy McClure. Welcome to the latest supply chain tech brief.
In the world of supply chains, there's this silent killer at work. And no, I'm not talking about a competitor or some market downturn. This is an invisible force, one that's quietly sabotaging our biggest, most expensive tech investments. And today, we're going to drag it out into the light. I mean, you've seen this happen, right? A company pours millions into some cutting edge AI or a huge digital transformation project. They promise it's going to revolutionize efficiency, but then crickets. It just stalls, or it underdelivers, or worst case, it fails completely. So, what's the deal? Why does this keep happening over and over again? Well, the answer is probably not what you think. See, it's usually not the tech that's broken. The real culprit, the real silent killer of progress, is something way more fundamental. It's a glaring lack of what we call operational clarity. Or to put it even more simply, we're not all speaking the same language. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by taking a good hard look at this silent killer. Then we'll dive into something called the definition dilemma. That's what's really fueling the fire. We'll look at the very real, very costly failures this causes, and then we'll shift gears and lay out a practical blueprint for change. We'll wrap it all up with the one big idea that connects everything you gotta measure to improve. All right, first up, let's really dig into just how damaging this silent killer can be. At the end of the day, it all comes down to miscommunication. Okay, just imagine this for a second. Your finance team, your warehouse crew, your carriers, your customers, they're all supposed to be collaborating, right? But what if they're each speaking a slightly different dialect of supply chainese? I mean, when one person says shipped, does that mean the same thing to everybody else? When you talk about on-hand inventory, what does that actually include? See, without that crystal clear shared understanding, you just get chaos. So if the root problem is that we're all speaking these different dialects, then the solution has to be creating a common language, right? Well, that brings us straight to the definition dilemma, because the key isn't just that we define our terms, it's how we define them, and it has to be done in a very, very specific way. And this is where it all clicks into place. Look, we're all used to dictionary definitions, right? They tell you what a word means. But for a supply chain to actually work, I mean, really work, we need something different. We need operational definitions. And here's the crucial difference. An operational definition doesn't just describe something, it tells you exactly how you're going to measure it in the real world. That's the game changer. The legendary W. Edwards Deming. He absolutely nailed this. He said an operational definition gives communicable meaning to an idea. Why? Because it tells you precisely how to measure it and how to apply it. It's not just some fuzzy concept anymore. It's a concrete, testable set of instructions that, get this, both people and computer systems can understand perfectly. Let's make this super practical. This is a perfect example. Take a term like invoice accuracy. Instead of just being a vague goal, it becomes a crystal clear four-step process. Step 1. Does the invoice match the purchase order? Check. Step 2. Does the quantity on the invoice match what we actually received? Check. Step 3. Does the price on the invoice match the price we agreed on? Check. If you can say yes to all three, then and only then is it officially accurate and okay to pay. See, there's zero room for confusion. It's simple, it's repeatable, and most important of all, it's totally measurable. Okay, so that's the ideal world. That's what we're aiming for. But what happens when we don't have that kind of clarity? Well, the consequences can be pretty severe. This is where we see the real failures in translation, where all this ambiguity causes massive real-world problems. And if you want to see just how dangerous this can be, look at this. This is a really sobering example. After Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico, the official death count was reported as 64. 64! But other credible studies estimated the number was as high as 4,645. How is that even possible? The difference is staggering. And the reason? There was no single, clear, operational definition for what counted as a death caused by the storm. Different groups were literally measuring completely different things. In that exact same problem, that lack of a clear definition is absolutely crippling tech adoption in the supply chain right now. It shows up everywhere. You see it in these messy business glossaries where terms overlap or, even worse, contradict each other. It leads to these super vague requirements for things like supply chain visibility. And of course, it creates massive data headaches because every single partner in the chain defines key events just a little bit differently. So when that data gets lost in translation between systems, all of our expensive data hungry projects, AI, analytics, the whole shebang, they're basically doomed before they even get started. Here's the best way to think about it. Using a weak business glossary is like trying to build a skyscraper on quicksand. You can have the most advanced technology, the best materials, the most brilliant architects, but if that foundation, the very language your business runs on, is mushy and unstable, it's only a matter of time before the whole thing comes crashing down. The amazing computer scientist Grace Hopper had a quote that just nails this. She said, "One accurate measurement is worth 1,000 expert opinions." Think about that. It doesn't matter what a bunch of experts think is happening. The only thing that matters is what you can accurately and consistently measure. That precision, that's everything. Okay, so enough doom and gloom. How do we get off the quicksand and onto solid ground? The good news is this isn't just some theoretical problem without a solution. There's actually a clear blueprint for change. So let's walk through 5 concrete actions you can take to start building that common language. All right, here it is, your 5-step action plan. Step 1, you have to create a sense of urgency around fixing this. Make people realize this isn't a nice to have, it's a must have. Step 2, formally adopt that operational definition format we talked about. Make it the standard. Step 3, use modern tools like knowledge graphs. All that means is using smart tech that understands how different terms and concepts are related to each other, giving you context. Step 4, start thinking bigger. Move toward a shared industry-wide business glossary. And finally, number 5, make this whole process collaborative. This can't be one person in a dark room. It has to be a living, breathing process for the whole team. And this brings us right back to another piece of wisdom from Deming. He famously said, if you can't describe what you are doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. And that's exactly what an operational definition forces you to do, right? It makes you turn some vague idea into a clear step-by-step process. This isn't just about cleaning up your data. This is about fundamentally understanding what it is your business actually does. So at the end of the day, all of this work, defining our terms, building clear processes, getting that clarity, it all serves one ultimate purpose. And this brings us to our final and honestly most important takeaway. You do all this for one reason, so you can measure to improve. There's a classic quote from Lord Calvin that just says it all. If you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. Simple as that. Improvement is impossible if you can't measure your starting point. And as we spent this whole time discussing, real honest-to-goodness measurement is impossible without those clear operational definitions. So please, if you remember one thing, let it be this. This is not some boring academic exercise. This is the absolute bedrock of success. Having clear, measurable, and shared definitions is the true foundation. It's what makes everything else possible. Real collaboration, successful tech projects, and at the end of the day, a supply chain that actually performs at a superior level. So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge, a question to take back to your team. What is your supply chain's single most ambiguous term? Is it on time? Maybe urgent? Or in stock? Find it. Find that one term, define it operationally, and I promise you, you'll have taken your first real step off the quicksand and onto solid ground. And that is how you defeat the silent killer.
Hello, this is Raymond McClure from SC Tech Insights. Thank you for listening. For more on this topic, click the article link below or go to www.sctechinsights.com for the latest insights on supply chain technology. Thank you and see you next time.